UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Borralho, and it's just another shitty Fight Night card in the Apex. We have a great main event. We have a great prospect of Michael Morales coming up as well, but other than that, we got two tough finalists, and there's nothing else on the card. It's really just a shit card. I'm going to run through this prediction video as quick as possible because it's not worth it, guys. Don't watch the card until the main event comes on. Seriously, it's just a shit card. Dana doesn't give a fuck about anything Eastern, or anything Western of Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, like that area. He's just going to cater to the Middle East. That's all he does. He loves his dirty oil money, and he likes smoking John Jones's rod. So, we're going to do picks and predictions in this video. Overall, my record is 215 and what was it, 129? Yeah, it's 215 and 129 after going 8-4 on last week's card. You can double check that in my last reaction video to UFC 305, which was a great card. But yeah, we got a shitty card this weekend going into a Labor Day break as well. But don't worry, we get Burns versus Brady after that, so I am a little excited for that card. There's a couple of decent fights on that. But we're going to get right into it. First fight of the night is just a fucking terrible low-level women's MMA fight here. Wang Kong versus Victoria Leonardo. I'm going with Wang. The name makes me laugh. She's a minus 1,300 favorite. I haven't seen much tape on her, but what I have seen, her striking looks pretty good. She doesn't miss. Again, she's fighting tomato cans, but Victoria Leonardo is a tomato can. She's terrible. One of the worst fighters in the UFC, period. So I'm going with Wang Kong to win this fight, probably by finish. I'm going to go with a knockout. I bet her hands are quick. I bet Victoria Leonardo can't take punches, so I'm going with Wang Kong. Another shit fight. Jacqueline Cavalcanti versus Josiane Nunes. Don't think Cavalcanti's that good. Again, she lands a lot, but Josiane Nunes is also fucking terrible. She's just a meatball with power and no actual technique. Jacqueline Cavalcanti, she's all right. Just kidding. She's really not, actually. She has a reach advantage kind of here. Again, by 3 inches, but nothing too crazy. We got a 6-inch height advantage. Cavalcanti is okay with missing weight per her last couple fights. Josiane Nunes also was a featherweight. Again, this is going to be like one of those things. Is Jacqueline Cavalcanti going to even give Josiane Nunes the chances in the exchanges to look decent, or at least land a shot? Or is she going to be able to stay at range and kind of kick the legs and just make Josiane Nunes miss the whole time? I don't think Cavalcanti is actually that talented. I know Josiane Nunes isn't either, but I do think Cavalcanti can stay on the outside and make Josiane Nunes miss a lot and eventually gas out. Now, there may be big moments where Josiane Nunes lands just a looping overhand left like she likes to throw, and that looks like it's the most damage of the fight, but I think those punches are going to come very few and far between. I don't think Cavalcanti's going to trade in the pocket with her. I think she's going to stay outside and jab and kick at range. And if she can do that, I bet she can make Josiane Nunes miss enough where the judges give a split decision to Jacqueline Cavalcanti. This just seems like a fight to me that it's going to go to the judges' scorecards. You're not going to know how it's going to get judged. It's going to be a sketchy split decision, but I think they're going to go with Cavalcanti. I think Nunes just sucks too. They both suck. This is a shitty fight. I'm going with Cavalcanti to win a split decision that could end up being a robbery and going to Nunes, so don't really fucking care. This card sucks. We move on to a fighter that I actually enjoy watching, even though he has not been too promising in the UFC, but he's had some fun fights. Like, he got his ass beat by Chase Hooper recently, but he had a great fight with Nazim Sadikov. I actually rate Sadikov pretty highly just with the way he's able to mix up the striking and the grappling. I don't think James Lyantop can grapple too well, and I think that if he's standing on the feet with Slava Claus, while he does have the longer range and can throw the jab better, he is young. Slava has been kickboxing for so long, and you can see it. When he is in a kickboxing groove, he looks really good, and while his grappling is not great, someone that also doesn't have good grappling is James Lyantop, and James Lyantop might get a takedown or two, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold Slava Claus down there. I think James Lyantop will get takedowns, a couple in the first round, but end up gassing himself out when Slava works his way back to the feet. And I think Slava's got better cardio than James Lyantop, and you're going to see him start to piece together really good combinations, end up landing good low kicks everywhere. His boxing super crisp in the pocket, and he lands body shots really well. James Lyantop's hands, while they're not always protecting his face, and they can get pretty low, they're not like defending the body when he's low. They're kind of like hanging in there and they're lazy. I think Slava's going to be able to get in the pocket, land a good liver shot in the second or third round when James Lyantop really starts to tire out and get the finish. I'm going with a round 2 body shot TKO from Slava Claus in this one. So again, I'm sorry I'm picking all the favorites, guys, but it's like they're favorites for a reason in this card because they're all just like it's sloppy fights. Anyway, we're moving to Zachary Reese and Jose Medina. I don't think Jose Medina is good at all. I actually think he's fucking terrible. Just perfect fighter to have on this card. Zachary Reese, I actually think he's criminally overrated as well. Again, I think he's got a really good jiu-jitsu game and has good submissions off his back. I don't think his striking's that good, even though he knocked out Julian Marquez with one punch. Still don't think it's that good. I think he just caught him on the chin, caught him early, and I think Julian Marquez's chin was bound to go after being in war after war after war where he ends up getting knocked out. So Zachary Reese was primed for a KO there. I didn't pick him because I didn't think Zachary Reese was that good. Still don't think he's that good. But against Jose Medina, I bet he's more dangerous on the feet. I feel pretty confidently that he's more dangerous on the feet. I think he can land some body kicks, and I think if it does go to the ground, Zachary Reese's grappling and jiu-jitsu game is much better. I'm going to go with Zachary Reese to win this fight. I think he's going to end up getting his takedown and getting a submission, maybe a rear naked choke where Jose Medina makes a dumb decision, gives up his back, and he gets choked out. I'm going Zachary Reese, round 2 submission via rear naked choke against Jose Medina. Dennis Buzukja versus Francis Marshall. How many fights do we have on this fucking prelims? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we have at least 10 or more fights. Dennis Buzukja versus Francis Marshall. I think Dennis Buzukja's striking is much better. I think that he has a little bit more experience than Francis Marshall in the professional. They both have a similar opponent in Connor Matthews, and Francis Marshall was able to take down and really control Connor Matthews pretty well. Dennis Buzukja was able to kind of beat him up on the feet, but Connor Matthews had moments on the feet. Now, while I do think that Francis Marshall is a much better grappler than Dennis Buzukja, I think he's actually going to struggle getting Buzukja to the ground. Once he gets him to the ground, I think he can do a lot of good work there, landing little ground and pound shots where the referee's not going to stand him up, transitioning into dominant position, and maybe threatening with a submission or two. But at the end of the day, every round starts on the feet, and I think Buzukja is just more capable of landing better damage when they're on the feet. I think his punches are better. Don't love Buzukja's kicks. I don't think his kick game is that good, but he is getting better and better. He's training at a really good gym in Serra-Longo with, and this guy's a featherweight, so he is training with Aljo. He is training with Merab. Like, he's training with these guys. And while he does have an 1.5 inch shorter reach, I actually don't take that much into account here because I do think his work on the feet is a lot better than Francis Marshall. Now, Francis Marshall's young, too. He is constantly improving. He looked pretty impressive in... Actually, it was against the Connor Matthews fight that I think he looks impressive, but he's coming off a KO loss to Isaac Dulgarian, who has power, but he's a much better grappler than he is a striker. He lost a split to William Gomez, but William Gomez doesn't really engage in a fight. There's opportunity to beat him in terms of a decision if you can mix in grappling and throw different kinds of strikes at him. I think that Francis Marshall is smart enough to try and go for takedowns, but I do think he's going to struggle. I think that Dennis Buzukja is working with guys like Merab, guys like Aljo, where he's going to be able to defend a transition to the back. A double leg may be trickier, but when a guy like Merab shooting on you constantly, I don't think Buzukja is going to gas out. I think he's going to be able to work and get those underhooks. And the second he hits those underhooks, he's going to be able to land knees in the clinch, land elbows off the break, and I think he's going to end up beating Francis Marshall. Francis Marshall also took this on short notice. Supposed to be Danny Silva, and I thought Danny Silva was going to beat up Dennis Buzukja. But I think Francis Marshall is going to lose a damage-based decision here. 29-28, 30-27 on one judge's scorecard. I'm going with Dennis Buzukja to win a decision. And that's an underdog pick, so that might end up being my only underdog pick of the card. We'll see as this keeps going. Gerald Mearshart is always a live dog when he's fighting someone that doesn't have supremely good grappling, but Edmund Shabazian's putting that work in. He is. And when we see he runs into trouble, it's people landing ground and pound shots, not necessarily submissions. Now, I know that Edmund Shabazian can absolutely get choked out and submitted, or leg lock. I can see a leg lock coming from Gerald Mearshart in this fight, but I think Shabazian's going to be smart enough to keep it at range. Again, he went to the third round with Anthony Hernandez. Like, that's impressive. And he got KO'd. He didn't get subbed. He got TKO'd. Delkia Lachambula, he knocked out Aaron Dobson when that was dicey, but I don't think there's any problems on the feet that Gerald Mearshart's going to cause here. I'm going to go with Edmund Shabazian to win this fight via a round to head kick knockout. I think that Edmund Shabazian does have good finishing ability. He has faced extremely good talent. You look, it's Hermanson, it's Imavov, it's Anthony Hernandez. 3 guys in his last 5 fights are in the rankings. And yes, he lost all of those, but they're so much better than Gerald Meerschaert. And while Meerschaert has great grappling, doesn't really have anything else. And his jiu-jitsus are good. It's not like his wrestling is that good. And he's not facing a guy in Edmund Shabazian where he's going to be able to stuff takedowns. Or a guy in Edmund Shabazian where he's not that good in the striking. Like, Shabazian's striking is very good. Meerschaert's not facing a Petrosky here where he's going to be takedowns and not good at striking, so it's kind of playing into Gerald Meerschaert's game. It's going to be an Edmund Shabazian win, and I bet he gets a head kick knockout over Gerald Meerschaert, or a knockdown that ends in a TKO, where Gerald Meerschaert isn't really getting back on the feet and the ref calls it. I don't think Shabazian's going to engage, and Shabazian's always at the PI. He's training with guys like Strickland. He's getting really good work in. And he's getting better and better each fight, where Gerald Meerschaert, he's not really improving his game at 36. Edmund Shabazian is constantly improving his game at 26. I'm going to go with the younger fighter here. I'm going to go with the better striker. I'm going with Edmund Shabazian to get a knockout in round 2. Another just super lopsided fight, Michael Morales versus Neil Magny. Now, no one should ever be minus 1,000 against Neil Magny because he will just find ways to win when he's a supremely heavy underdog. But I think Morales is primed to get it done here. I think he uses his teep kicks really well. I think he uses his range really well. And where Magny really bothers a lot of people is with his reach and obviously his height. Now, he is a lot taller than Michael Morales, but he doesn't use his kicks well. Like, he throws like a really shitty low kick, and he likes to use his jab and grapple you against the cage. He's going to struggle using the jab here against Morales because Morales is really good at countering off the jab with a 1-2. Morales can actually throw a powerful hook. Morales can use teep kicks at range. He can use low kicks. And he's only 1 inch shorter in reach than Neil Magny, so it's not like Magny's going to be able to pepper jabs on him. Morales also has good wins over like Jake Matthews, Max Griffin, who can be tricky. Where Neil Magny, I don't think Magny's going to have much success with getting Morales against the cage, and when he does, I don't see him doing a lot of damage there. This could be a very Phil Rowe-esque fight, but Morales lands more damage than Phil Rowe, where Michael Morales is going to get the decision. That's how I see this going. I see this being a boring Michael Morales 30-27 decision where he is just landing better than Magny in every round, not letting Magny do good work in the clinch, where, again, he's holding him against the cage, but he's not landing damage, so it's not scoring. I'm going with Michael Morales. I think he's going to win a decision. I think he's going to win it pretty easily here as well. So Michael Morales decision. Con Ofli versus Myron Santos, the featherweight finale for Tough. I'm going with Myron Santos. Taller, rangier, especially the reach is supremely different. I think that Myron Santos is going to bother Con Ofli with low kicks, with jabs, picking him apart on the outside. That would be the smart thing to do. And then Ofli is going to run into issues with that striking, and he's going to go to his takedowns. I think he's going to shoot a bad takedown. Myron Santos is going to jump guillotine and latch up the guillotine with those long limbs. I'm going to go with Myron Santos to win by guillotine in the first round. I think he just catches Con Ofli early. Ofli's going to make a mistake. Myron Santos is going to catch him. Myron Santos is pretty good. He's young. He's constantly learning. Con Ofli has learned a lot as well. And I really like the younger Australian prospects. But, again, this guy's 31. He's not one of the younger prospects. He's in his physical age prime right now for fighting. Usually 29 to 33, 34 really is that prime age. 34 is kind of getting out of it, but 33 is pretty good. So he's got 2 more years of prime, but Myron Santos is only getting better in each fight. He's bigger. I think he's more well-rounded in terms of skill, at least. I think he can threaten with a submission here, and I think he's just going to get a guillotine. I think Con Ofli is going to get annoyed with the striking, shoot a bad takedown, and get caught in a guillotine. That's what I'm going with here. I'm going with Myron Santos. Even though Ofli is a hard guy to choke out, I bet, just seems like one of those dudes that's tough to choke out. I think Myron Santos is going to catch him with a guillotine. Ofli's going to panic and tap. Next up, Ryan Loder versus Robert Valentin. Robert Valentin Frey. Married to Jinyu Frey, the GOAT? Just kidding. I'm going Ryan Loder. Now, Robert Valentin has power, and he can crack with his hands. But I think that Ryan Loder's wrestling is going to be very, very difficult for Valentin to stop. I really do. I think Valentin's very tall. Again, they're both similar height, but when you have great grappling like Ryan Loder, he has a he has a good wrestling game. And while I don't think he's adding many new tools to the toolkit here, I think he is going to be able to get his takedowns and stall this fight out on the ground, land a little bit of ground and pound, and transition enough where the refs are not going to stand up the fight. I'm going with Ryan Loder here. I think he's going to win a decision. That's my second underdog of the card. Probably my last. I'm going with Ryan Loder to win a decision here just based off of takedowns and control time. I know it's a boring way to win a fight. I just do think he's going to get the takedowns, and I think he's going to be able to stall out the striking a little bit. He's going to threaten. I think he's going to be smart enough to feint takedowns, make Robert Valentin kind of hesitate, and find those openings with those feints where he's going to end up getting a good takedown, like after adding a combination together. I can see him going like throwing a 1-2 and ducking and getting the takedown and landing it. I don't think Robert Valentin's really thrown up a knee to catch that either, or really throwing many teep kicks to deter the takedowns away. So I'm going Ryan Loder to win this fight. Angela Hill, Tabitha Ricci. Angela Hill's better than Tabitha Ricci. I think Tabitha Ricci sucks. She lost to Tisha Pennington in her last fight. It busted a parlay for me, and it was going to be a lot of money. But I think Angela Hill's more well-rounded. I think she's more skilled. I think her striking's better. And while Tabitha Ricci has good grappling, she does struggle to actually get the fight to the ground. We see her stall out against the cage or against opponents with bad takedown defense. She's not getting it. And Angela Hill, the crisp age of 39, continues to improve her defensive grappling to the point where now she's improving her offensive grappling. Luana Pinheiro was not able to get Angela Hill down for a significant period of time, and in that first round, Luana Pinheiro is dangerous in the grappling. She wasn't able to do that to Angela Hill. I think Tabitha Ricci is far less dangerous in the grappling. She got the bunda, and that's why she got her robbery decision against Tisha Pennington. I can see her getting a robbery here against Angela Hill, but at the end of the day, I think Angela Hill is going to run away with it, land more damage, and end up getting a win, and Angela Hill is sneaky coming on a streak here. Let's look at her last couple of fights. Pinheiro. She got a sub on Pinheiro, and I get Pinheiro gasses out, but she still got a sub on a very dangerous grappler. She UD'd Denise Gomes, who has very good power, and I think is going to end up climbing up those rankings at strawweight. She lost a UD to Mackenzie Dern, where Mackenzie Dern looked the best she did in her fight, but Angela Hill is tailor-made to lose to Mackenzie Dern, because she'll stay in there, especially for 5 rounds. She'll stay in there and box with you literally the whole time. Even if she's taking damage, she's not getting knocked out unless you have Jessica Andrade power. And when it gets into the grappling, Angela Hill, no one stands a chance with Mackenzie Dern, let's be real. So I'm going with Angela Hill to win this fight via 29-28 split decision, where Tabitha Ricci's going to get a 30-27 because she's booty shaking for one of the judges. But at the end of the day, Angela Hill's going to get it done, and the judges are actually going to get it right. Moving on to the main event. This is a fight you should be excited for. Tune in for this one. Don't tune in for anything else. Nothing else fucking matters other than this fight. Oh my god, this fight's going to walk out at like a 32. Oh my god. Why do you ruin my Saturdays, man? Why? I'm going Borralho. Now, I think Cannonier, if this stays on the feet, I think Cannonier is going to seriously hurt Caio Borralho. But I think Caio Borralho and the Fighting Nerds gym are smart enough to know when they should be striking with somebody and when they shouldn't. Now, I know that when it comes to Gene Silva, it's like, why were you standing and striking with Dober if you have grappling? Well, turns out Gene Silva's got one of the best chins in the game that we're slowly starting to find out. And he has some of the most dangerous power and damage-inducing striking that we're able to see in the UFC right now, especially at the featherweight, lightweight area. Caio Borralho, his striking, I never thought it was that good, but it obviously looked much improved against Paul Craig, which everyone's striking looks improved against Paul Craig. But as you look, in each fight, like since the Petrosian fight where his striking looked so bad that he grappled the whole time, since that fight, he has worked on and significantly improved his striking. Why does my nose hurt? I don't know. It's pissing me off. Hurts a lot. I'm going with Caio Borralho to win this because I think he's going to be able to mix the grappling in, and I think he will. I think that while Jared Cannonier's initial takedown defense is good, I think Caio Borralho knows that he wants to transition to the back. Cannonier, kind of like Izzy, will give up the back and bank on the fact that you're not going to choke him out because, let's be real, the people he's fought in the past have not choked him out. They haven't been able to. Derek Brunson could have. He had the best chance of doing it, and Derek Brunson hurt him in the first round. But I don't think he's gonna. I'm sorry. I didn't think he was gonna. I thought he was going to control Jared Cannonier in that fight the whole time, but at the end of the day, Cannonier made it a war, and I do think that Caio Borralho will transition to the back and be able to stall out this fight on the back. Will he get the choke? Maybe, maybe not. I know DDP did. I'm going to go with yes. I think Caio Borralho ends up getting the rear naked choke in like a round 3 or 4. Kind of like how I predicted with DDP. Cannonier's going to beat him up on the feet. I think he does beat up. Now, I think Caio will have good step in 1-2s. And I think that first round is going to be tough for Cannonier with a step in 1-2s, and eventually Borralho is going to mix in a takedown and win the round. But I think you're going to see a resurgence from Jared Cannonier in round 2, where he goes, all right, I know what this guy wants to do. Stuffs an early takedown, starts walking down Caio Borralho, landing good low kicks, landing the punches, and then he's starting to get his rhythm on the feet. And Caio Borralho is kind of struggling to land, struggling to get Jared Cannonier off him. But then he ends up timing a good takedown with Jared Cannonier getting overzealous with the striking. I think Cannonier's going to start landing on him, stuff one takedown, think he's, oh, don't worry, I got it, I'm going to be able to stop them all. And then Cannonier's going to start teeing off, and Borralho's going to have a very well-timed and good takedown where he transitions to the back and stalls out the rest of the round. Now, I still think round 2 will go to Jared Cannonier because he's going to land the more damage. I think you're going to see that Borralho is going to get hurt by a couple of these low kicks. 5, 6, 7 low kicks land, I think you're going to start to see that Caio Borralho is wearing it a little bit. He's never going to switch a stance. That's the other thing. Like, he's not a switch stance guy where Cannonier is. And I think when he starts hurting Caio with the leg kicks, it's going to open up the hands. But at the end of the day, Caio Borralho I do think is durable. And I do think is smart enough to use his grappling. And again, it's going to get to round 3, and Borralho will address what Jared Cannonier did in the second round and come out and have a game plan for it in the third round. I think Borralho is smart enough, and I think he's talented enough to make a mid-fight switch. I think he's going to be able to change things that he wants to do in the middle of the fight. I think he's going to get those takedowns easier, and I think you're going to see him feint takedowns or land a combination to get in on a clinch and eventually transition to the back. And I don't think Cannonier is good at stopping people from getting to the back. And I think Caio Borralho is one of the more talented middleweights outside of Anthony Hernandez and Dricus du Plessis at being able to get your back and threaten with a submission. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think I'm going to go with Caio Borralho to win a round 3, round 4 submission. The other thing is, Cannonier has gotten hurt in a number of his fights recently. Now, Nasruddin Imavov, he got TKO'd. Was it an early stoppage? Yes. It could have been stopped a little bit earlier, but it looked like he started to get his wits about him, took one more punch, and didn't really look like it did much to Cannonier. But then Jason Herzog, who I think is normally one of the best officials in the game, prematurely stopped it. But Jared Cannonier was getting wobbled in that fight. It was probably going to be 2-2 going to round 5 and would have been tricky. But he got hurt in that fight by Cannonier. He got hurt a couple of times. Marvin Vettori in the first round of their fight actually hurt Jared Cannonier. And I think Marvin Vettori's striking is abysmal. It's very pitter-pattery. It doesn't have much power, but it's also southpaw-esque, and you see openings on Jared Cannonier from that rear hand, the backhand, which is what we're going to call the 2, and Caio Borralho likes to throw that, like, jumping 1-2 and then get out of range. And I think that's what's going to land on Cannonier a couple times. You might see him get hurt by it once or twice. Strickland put some damage on Cannonier, and arguably, not arguable robbery. This was a very, very close fight, but arguably could have won the fight. You could have given the decision to Strickland. One judge actually did. Now, Cannonier didn't get hurt by Adesanya because Adesanya is incapable of inflicting damage outside of leg kicks and a flash knockout. But he got knocked down by Derek Brunson. So, Cannonier's a touch chinny, and he's also 40 years old. Caio Borralho is going to win this fight. He's going to win it by submission in the 3rd or 4th round. And the fighting nerds are going to reign supreme, but I am very, very weary. I will not be betting Caio Borralho in this fight. If I do, I'm going to take him by submission or points, whichever one that I think has a better line for what the reasonability of it happening is. Don't even know if that's a word. But those are my predictions. Hopefully we do well. Again, 8-4 last week, 215 and 129 overall, about 62.5% win rate, which for MMA is not terrible. It's not great. It's good. It's not great. But we're going to try and get up to 65 by the end of the year. That's the big number to get to. If I can get to 70, then I am king. But I'm no Bobby Green here, so you can't call me king yet. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And we got a new one coming out. I'm going to do it tomorrow or Friday. It is the most undeserved title shots, or I just ate hair, The most undeserved title shot / contender worthy fights. This is in relevancy. I guess that this is relevant because of the Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree fight. Maybe I'll talk about that at some point this week or next week. So if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Don't watch the card until the main event this weekend. If you're up, you can watch it. If not, I will keep you in the loop on Sunday. Thanks again for watching.